This is Bhutan in the early 1960s. With a rich culture, it is in many ways a unique country. Here even progress and development is not measured by GDP as it is elsewhere in other parts of the world. It is measured by what is known as GNH or Gross National Happiness. His Majesty the Druk Gyalpo realized that gross domestic product or GDP-led development was neither an equitable nor a meaningful measurement of human happiness, nor should it be the primary focus for the government.
Na dulu mission yung sama ni kang sa Druk Gyalpo dinale juda tongkop la seni digi tatle nga chachap kara na somleshin betan dipen lokshile nga chara lam joma sukti membe te chemise sugira peru penin ga shungi beo no tani myo katsuma so nga cha shungi shu bam chita modi chemise sugi dumta tsa gyambasen ni la sakache tani ben digi tatle nga cha shungda chemise su laptik ti chika betsa gendi ben The
pioneering vision of GNH has guided Bhutan's development and policies. Unique among the Committee of Nations, GNH is about balancing the material with the spiritual, integrating equitable socio-economic development with environmental conservation, cultural promotion, and good governance.
남시 레심베 저진 남 디카리나 테도스니 데오다 펜도디 등아지 대거도 미슬로 펜도 bom도 수니라 다가 짐서 진 담보 배워진 남매버진 등아지 야다마 도돌 배우달로 남미 섬에 나레 마트스간 조고롱 데 바나 콤로 샤디 디기마토 마히미소 다리 남보 배워진 다토바 마주 치르로케 자치 대 중립변가 겸까지 지존로 등아지 미라다 울라스 아니 데바토이 마고바 데나가지 기억되올라 회심ले 남이 섬에 핀도 몸비도 수니라
뭐 장된 미치가 고니다 몽시티 기사 한텐 기사 다 메르가 동된 가리눔 딜리감네 오 망기도 더부터 기사 당네 니 오사 가르람 다 메르가 시디 가르 토모감니 몽시티 기사 당네 몽시부 망기와 당니 쇼당 비당 작바기 니 갑비당 마세와 안 합도 들어온 로스바네
Not too many people in the kingdom are aware of the country's development philosophy. However, many villagers say they are happy that the government has provided them with all the basic needs in life.
Darin nam sam tayi ta jungi khabage jodila tab gi toyi rang chana mapai ta thamchira omla hangrang jo goma kai daste oma ta yakidini oma dagla la dakputa ni oma ha ne la ai hangrang nyong chamela ta kai mi lam ri thamchira jamena uni shuga ke bezum gidula mangimo.
This is Thimphu, the capital city. it is also a place where most of the educated Bhutanese reside.
To rural people, they said like connectivity to the road and health facilities, infrastructures they get, that's GNH for them. And then when I come back and then ask, they said like having a car, having a building, land, and their assets, that's GNH for them.
GNH is the country's guiding development philosophy. It is not merely about physical development. It is about wholesome development, looking not just at the material needs, but at all aspects of human progress, including the spiritual and social dimensions. The ultimate aim is the collective happiness of all Bhutanese for all times to come. GTP does not consider happiness as the ultimate goal of every human being.
GNH is a measurement which is focused on quality of life, and not quantity of goods and services. So when you take into account of the quality of life, then all these measurements which are domains of GNH become very important. Your inner experience which are measured in psychological well-being of GNH. Are you able to have enough time, regardless of whether you have enough money or not, enough time to, for example, do physical exercise, to meet people which you respect and love, because your relation need to be sustained and nurtured. You have to have time to pursue spiritual activities, for example, to sleep well and soundly. These are things which are beyond money. At this moment we receive from the purity of air, the purity of color, and the sound, for example. What I meant to say is GNH is a much broader concept than GDP. It doesn't mean the GDP or the material prosperity is not necessary. It means that GDP is one of the elements we have to pay attention, but it is not the ultimate.
In the developed countries, people have become disenchanted with the material progress, because everybody was hoping that material progress and economic development would bring happiness and well-being. And people have noticed that although the economy has been growing, material progress has been very strong, the happiness and well-being has not grown in the same way. That's one reason. So many people feel they are stressed and they are not so happy with their life, although materially they have everything they want. The second reason is that as a mankind we are facing big challenges, ecological challenges, social challenges, political challenges. You can see there's so many wars and conflicts in the world. And many people feel that the current economic system and political system is not really delivering on its promises to bring well-being to all. And therefore people are looking for a different development paradigm, different vision. And gross national happiness is such a different vision that seems to be an alternative to the current economic model.
The academic discussion and philosophical debates may or may not make sense to the average Bhutanese, but they do see the difference.
시계 감달 뭐 시행하면 송 같이 진짜 개감달 맞죠 녀고주 말하면 가대 휴지라 안 나타오 주디 보다 같이 가이랑 같이 두개 감나 가기배 좀 유심히 같이 가기배 좀 디다 코인 가기배 좀디 자가 놓다오다 미다일라 남라테두 유미디 같이서 시계 감나 도토바네 코너 중기 차지점디 중가인스나 디한테 맞뚜뚜빠 이데메 조다누라 때 유칼바시에 송 유칼바 조갈 라루치 콜라케니미 침도 데수기 침에 피기 침배 마 사카베베베 다한베 추에 아가노 퉁베베 때 탑도없다 되면 아무 싸면 삼나 계기 맞춰봐두라
Well, I used to work for the International Committee of the Red Cross, which is the part of the Red Cross that works in war zones and conflict areas. So I have been in most of the conflict zones in the past decades, like Afghanistan, Israel, Ivory Coast, Darfur, and so on and so forth. And therefore I have seen firsthand a lot of suffering, human suffering, but also destruction of the environment, destruction of culture, destruction of society. And this is really the reason why I asked myself, can we do something to prevent so much suffering, so much destruction? And this is how I got interested in gross national happiness as a social system, economic system that promotes human values like compassion, kindness, altruism, cooperation rather than competition, and as a way to prevent the wars and catastrophes that we are seeing in our time.
Many people might think that Bhutan is the happiest country on the planet, but it is not. The country has its own set of challenges. For instance, every year the government has to deal with unemployment issues where thousands of young people graduate every year.
Regardless of the 2,762, 2,369 are yet to get jobs. And you must be anxious. You must be scared. You must be nervous. And this is okay. This just doesn't happen only in Bhutan. It happens all over the world. It is only in Bhutan till now, because of a unique set of circumstances, every graduate was given a job and given a job in the government. But that is no longer possible nor desirable.
There are other issues. Rural-urban migration for one. 27-year-old Kesang Somo is from Khamdang village in Tashyangtse. She is a divorcee with 4 children. She came to the capital leaving her aged parents and 3 siblings in the village in search of a better life.
Now dililachi top dililabe naritire mam top be alu disugi kachlo kangal disu ta suni me se anzom no be hoila na hebda di ngachi tani di igara dave la chimrente magoba de zani thuni ngachi labe khali thomni ba na di zani thuni disu garati rutendi an bindi na namsam la khadula tuni di daru ramapchi mendi namsam la chamila na thimuna tikap dinga chimren tap machu anzom dile alulu kachlo an golagi noni gi tiru matho banzum bedanga di ta ika jochin dave ika jochi apada egi charu pino di apada echi ngare charu be nga lashu mabere chimna to da ani disudi besuni mes numila.
So many people are looking up to Bhutan, and in a way Bhutan is a little bit like a lab. Trying to implement GNH in a country is like an experiment. So of course it's not easy. There are challenges. We all know, no, it's not it's naive to believe that in Bhutan everybody is happy and there's no problem. There are problems, and I think, of course, as Bhutanese, you know the problems like youth unemployment and rural to urban migration. There are problems, But still, the fact that Bhutan has a different vision on its own development, that Bhutan has been able to preserve its environment, to preserve its culture, to offer free education and healthcare system to all its people, and many other policies that are a direct consequence from gross national happiness, is really like an experiment that the world can learn from. And many people are actually wanting to learn from Bhutan. When I travel abroad, so many people, when they hear that I live in Bhutan, they want to know more, because they find gross national happiness such an inspiring vision for the future.
And on social media like Facebook, people comment on the inadequacies of GNH.
Specific inadequacies being blamed on GNH is in a way confirmation that there is GNH in this country. Because if the government had not embraced GNH, if the population of population is not oriented towards GNH, but only towards material production and services, then very criticism that you just mentioned will be self-censored, you know. No, since you will not elicit any response from anywhere, you will self-censor it, because you will say that it is not going to fetch any comment, any response, so I would never mention it. So in a way I would say that it proves the existence of GNH as a discourse.
Most countries and individuals strive for wealth. And often this ruthless pursuit of greater wealth leads to environmental destruction.
I know very well all the Western countries, Europe, USA and so on. So what you can observe is that as the economy has been growing, the well-being and happiness has not been growing in a parallel. So of course, we need to be able to meet all the basic needs of the population. So when the country is very poor, economic growth and well-being, they grow together. But after a certain level, when all the basic needs are met, although the economy is growing more, happiness and well-being is not growing more. Why? Because you will have more inequality. Let's say, take a country like the USA, richest country in the world, but huge inequalities in society. Therefore, a lot of problems, social problems, health problems, societal problems, a lot of people in jail and so on. This is because economic growth in itself doesn't guarantee happiness and well-being.
It is harvest time in many parts of the country. Harvesting paddy is a labor-intensive affair, and farmers take turns helping each other. The community solidarity is still strong. This is an important aspect of GNH.
Te hima pham mi kable ranzu mera bedi du la kita bebe te la di ben chikiche tu mu gola nga chinadi ta kara chimchi gi nai mi zumbe ta pham gi kable ranzu me bedi nu te tarna banga che ranzu mera bedi se shunila janga mi mishindi phaporo le yula ru phaporo bondina le te nahi bawa chinga che mishingi nga dola te joni di mapa mishin jobe te boda atisi la jarjur tamela te mapan mi chenga churugi la di mishingi yudechina biumela Tebda mishingi di atila shobe gobe bala te mishingi nga tub danga mo tub pe dubala ja hanjum be udalo azta mo di uthme
alo tato sa joge kungita to ki chicho.
It is lunchtime. An elderly woman brings lunch for the farmers working in her field. They sit down like a family and crack jokes as they eat.
We crossed over by land and we'd been in India for a few days and the transformation just coming over into Bhutan was so incredible that everything was different. It was so beautiful. The buildings are unlike anything I've seen. I've travelled quite extensively in Asia and in other regions of the world and just I've never seen anything like it.
I think it's a very nice way of Buddhism here and it's very inspiring for us and we try to understand and maybe we can adopt a little bit.
Oh, I think it's preserved it quite a bit because everything is not overbuilt and there is still a lot of greenery, a lot of the environment is still very undisturbed.
As a country where development is guided by GNH, it is the government's duty to create the environment within which every Bhutanese can pursue happiness.
In the last 8 years or so, there has been about 15 new policy documents which were proposed and assessed by the ministry and finally by the cabinet whether they can pass the GNH policy screening tools, which actually has about 26 criteria. Some of these criteria are absolutely non-monetary, like whether a policy would increase stress level in the population or not. So they passed the WTO admission proposal also through these GNH policy screening tools, and it was said that it needed revision, so meaning it was not passed at that particular point in time.
Outside Bhutan, GNH is attracting the attention of academics, economics, and world leaders. It may not have been adopted wholesale, but it has made people think. What is development and of what meaning is development if it, in the end, does not bring happiness? GNH will remain the enduring gift of the fourth king, not just Bhutan, but the world at large.
Ta ngachi jungi danam da tandebe gakipe jomti ngachara na timuluma chamchi memela katole chapsanula ngachi ta oda ama semel lejimi asanula jungle na re dangdara na de bajechi naru kachi chaji chamre dangdara belela Teta tiga ki pensam na desu misu katibe dena mi rana su samay mela ran semdi ki koma chobachin tota tiru rizum china tongale punjar tata zonola te tare ani chizo midi te kai kude sakom minu marchigi gebrim chusugi kude tumame sushuni habar tute dugi jiba namasme kadi chesani dugi jiba kable namasame tatangin namasme lebe yasila namasame lejimi yasi namno nimshao de shadi 아니 같이 아들 뭐지 기초 삼모스 순이 중로 두건 깜짝이야 누가 덕대에서 불도 펼쳐라 적셔 땅막해라
지미 계산담게 원축이 갑로 벨린 두비 야캅디 Tariwa Lakti, Penjo Gompejo, Dikiki Nim Shadi, Macha Gyakab Gitadin, Misegi Rewa, Geongaki, Belzomgi Miguel, Dendrup Subi, Melamu.